I'm joined today by Billy Hoffacker from the US. He is a finance coach as well as owning two physical locations. He's a Fit Pro with over 20 years experience with two physical bricks and mortar locations in the US. And I first heard about him because he was quoted in John Goodman's book. Now, if you don't know who that is, go look him up. He'll do yourself a favor. And Billy decided that when his own situation with money turned into a situation with his car being repossessed, himself and his wife then decided to go to work on their money and, to quote him, get his head out of the sand. And it worked because today his physical bricks and mortar business is thriving, retirements are fully funded, and he is expecting his fifth child. What a turnaround. So I'm interested to hear the story, and also Billy has courses for FitPro's. So I know that he's full of a wealth of knowledge and understands a lot of other people's positions, regardless of the country that you're in, regardless of the type of tax and companies that you register or that you pay. Billy, welcome, welcome.
Well, I'm so excited. It's a different time here. I can't believe I got up at it's 2 in the morning here, but you know what? I'll do whatever it takes to help whoever I can. No, I'm kidding. It's not quite that time, but I'm excited to be here.
It's afternoon. No, it's morning, isn't it? No, it's
It's
afternoon.
evening.
It's afternoon.
It's dinner
That's
time. The
that's
soup, the
definitely.
soup, the soup is waiting, but it can wait because we got some important things to discuss.
Can you expand for me on the introduction of why did you actually decide to get into this niche of helping these people? Obviously, they need help, and that's also why I want to interview you, because you will help my people.
Yeah,
What's
well,
your
it was 2010, and I was married to Melissa, the mother of my soon-to-be five children, and life I thought was perfect. I was living the dream. We had yet to have our first child, but we were getting ready to, and I was working with people as a personal trainer. Had not started my current fitness business at that time, but with that said, I was a personal trainer. I was just a different we talked before going on air. It's called an LLC. It was a different company, but as I'm getting ready for work, I get a knock on the door, and I don't know if this is a thing where you are, but it is where I'm from. I didn't even know it, but as a knock on the door, I open it, and there's a muscular, jacked, whatever you want to call it, bald guy standing on my stoop. And I looked past him and I saw my brand new white Honda Accord hooked up to his tow truck. He was repossessing my car because I had fallen so far on payments. Have you heard of such a thing?
We have that over here as well. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. So it makes sense. They have it everywhere. And,
Mm.
but that was our wake up call. I was angry, confused, embarrassed. I didn't even know what was flying. I didn't know that that was even a possibility. I begged him to please unhook my car. He tells me he's unable to. As he rides away with my car attached to his, I was like that string was pulled and the jig was up. I had realized now, after a little bit of discovery, that our lives were not quite what we thought. It was a house of cards, I guess you
Yeah.
could say. And at that point, we had 130,000 US dollars in non-mortgage debt, and it was crushing us. But at that point, we made a decision, and in 5 short years, we paid off that $130,000, and that was all, or 95% of that was from the profits of my gym business that you talked about. The gym, I mentioned at the start there that I didn't have the gym yet. So I was actually starting the gym right around that time. And then in 2014, we opened up our second facility. And yeah, we became highly profitable, developed a great business with a great team, and we used that to pay off the 130,000. And then we fast forward another 7 years and we paid off even more, total of $500,000. And then I moved 1,000 miles away from my gym. But that's not the important part. The important part is that because of all of that, I became passionate about helping Fit Pros. Why Fit Pros? Well, I have that personal connection. I am a Fit Pro, and even though right now I'm not training people on a regular basis, it's still part of who I am. I've done it for many, many years. Our Brick and mortar business is over 15 years old now, starting in 2010. Here we are, 2025. I love the industry. It attracts amazing people. I love the people that get involved because they're excited to help people. Unfortunately, they don't usually know finance. And that's where I come in. So I can fill that gap because the way I see it is I can train people or I can help the people who train people to become more financially fit. And guess what? I get to help more people become fit because that's what they're doing. It's that compound effect. And that's my mission to help FitPro's create profitable businesses that last, that they're not perfect, but they get a lot of satisfaction and enjoyment from. And here we are. That's kind of the origin story, and lots of ups and downs. But yeah, that's where we are.
It's important, isn't it? The old origin story. It's your
Yeah,
why. Like it's so
yeah.
emotional. I can feel the emotion as it comes being
I'm
told
so
away.
fired up. I know. I'm so pumped up about this. It's ridiculous.
So were the things that you changed to completely do a 180 in 5 years, were those the things that you teach people? Are they like really the
Oh
same
man.
principles in the same order? Could you run us through what the
Yeah.
lessons were with the personal touch of how you did it?
Gotta give Kate a little round of applause there. That's the first time I've been asked that question, believe it or not, and it's a good one. I would say people assume that's the case, right?
Yeah.
And it would be cool if I said, yeah, that's all I do is I teach them exactly what I did. And there's some truth to that. So yes, the answer is yes and no, or
Mm,
yes and then some. So I teach what I
mm,
learned through that experience. But now things have evolved. I've learned a lot more. So we do other things as well.
mm.
I help them get clarity over their financials, both on the personal side and the business side, help them use their business as a vehicle to achieve their personal goals, financial and otherwise. And I help everybody from those that are earlier on and struggling to those that are more advanced and they're in growth mode. And I'm helping them make strategic decisions that are based on where they want to go.
And would you say that there are similarities between beginners and advanced people, or should we separate them into different categories?
There's I think that like the principles don't change, but there's different factors that come into
Mm,
play as you get further along. If I
mm.
had to say, I like the idea of that. It really comes down to doing some basic things consistently, and I think there is less differences than people think.
Ah,
And it would be a better answer if I said, yeah, once you get to this point, you got to do all these other things. And like, yeah, to a certain extent, of course, like if you're managing $1 million, it's going to be a little bit different than if you're managing $100. But at the end of the day, money is money and you want to direct it where to go. You want to have the right mindset. You want to be disciplined. Like those things never change regardless of the scenario.
true. Okay, so I might separate the question then. So what are some of the common pitfalls you see when you're working with beginners? And when you say a beginner, what do you mean from a financial perspective? I know what I've got in my head. I mean someone probably under six figures annual income.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, we can go with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
And
then
so,
let's do the opposite as well if we've got time.
yeah, sure. I would say some of the common scenarios, and there some overlap for sure, but some of those that aren't quite as far along, I say they struggle more with separating their business and their personal finances. That's
Mm.
something that is relatively simple fix, but it's important to separate the business and the personal finances. I've seen some people who are in six-figure land that also need to improve that. So it's not exclusive to that group, but many are still using personal accounts. That leads to lacking clarity. So some of the problems are similar, but they're just on a bigger level. Here's another example: is being well planned for taxes. So those that are earlier on, oftentimes they're not saving properly for taxes. And that's also a common scenario in gyms that are doing a lot of revenue. We have to keep in mind that just making a lot of sales doesn't equate to a real healthy business and an organized business. So if we don't fix these problems early on, they sort of just continue on, and no amount of revenue fixes those things. So I've seen them in both, as far as not planning for taxes. Pricing, it might be more of an issue for people that are earlier on, is they're just not pricing their services properly. And that's really important, because nothing more discouraging than realizing that even with more clients, I'm not going to reach my goals. It's hard enough to get the clients, right? And then to know that even if you have them, you're not going to be able to reach your financial goals or pay your bills. That can be pretty discouraging.
Amazing. And the big thing that stands out in my mind is obviously as you scale and you get staff or contractors, whatever you'd like to call them, how do some of those things then change? Let's pretend that they've got the foundation principles correct. What are you seeing as something that's a reoccurring thing that you just wish that they knew, or the first things that you help them with when they're over the six-figure mark?
Yeah, when it comes to hiring staff, you might want to look at things like even separating an account for your payroll, so you can kind of keep things really organized. I think that's a good idea in many cases. I think calculating the percentage of your revenue that's going toward payroll, and even setting up a little bit of a rule of this is what we spend on our staff or our team, whatever you call them, and we're going to stay in line with that. So if I want to hire, but I don't have the amount that I need in that category, then guess what? I don't hire. I have to increase my revenue first. I have to fix my pricing. I have to fix some other things, because a lot of businesses, I could have used the same answer for the last question. What are some mistakes of businesses that are making six figures? And it might be that they don't have a great plan to hire. They're spending too much of their revenue on payroll, thinking that I just can like hire myself out of this problem, hire my way out of this problem, where they have some foundational issues. They're not set up properly to hire. So that would be one thing, or two things, and another would be just projecting a little bit better, or setting up a scenario where how is this going to look when I hire. So is this hire going to immediately bring in more money? And looking at those different scenarios, here's a quick little action step you can do, which is, let's do three scenarios. One would be the uh, the best case scenario, like we make this hire, we knock it out of the park, we bring in all the new clients. Okay, then let's run another scenario where it's kind of what probably will happen, right? It's probably not going to go as well as you planned. It's probably not going to go as bad as it could go. So let's see how that plays out, and makes things look for you. And then finally, let's do the do plan, which is like it goes way worse than you thought. And then how does that look? Are you able to absorb that? Because those kinds of things happen, and we want to make sure that we're not just basing all of our decisions on these best case scenarios that aren't likely to always occur.
I like that you had multiple different scenarios in there. Once my bookkeeper helped me do a projection sheet, and she did the projection like not in
Yeah.
that way. It was only the bad way, and it made me really upset actually. Whereas my head
Yeah.
only works to the positive, but I understand that you definitely need all possible scenarios, actually, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Billy, are there any recommendations that you make? Let's say that they've got the foundation down pat and their accounts are split up, everything's going okay, they're paying their tax. And then what in terms of you've saved for your
Yeah.
children's college fund, you mentioned.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does that
Yeah.
work?
So like you're wondering, once I have the basics covered, what am I looking at?
Yeah, like what do people
Yep.
do with their money? Do you have suggestions for that?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So on the personal side, I would be thinking about, first off, having a basic uh, s- unexpected event fund, I call it. So it might be a couple $1,000s that if something goes wrong, I'm not going to get put in the ditch. After that, I'm going to look to pay off all of my high interest debt. If I have a high interest credit card debt, I'm going to prioritize paying that off. After that, I'm going to look to save a larger unexpected event fund, perhaps 3 to 6 months of living expenses. After that, I am going to look to save and invest for the future. Ultimately, I want to build up to, this might scare people, but this is just an eventual goal. It doesn't have to happen right away, but I want to eventually build up to saving and investing 20% of my income into long-term savings and investments like retirement. And I also we're going to think about prepaying some expenses. That might be things like kids' college, and other expenses that are looming. And then after that, you might want to look to become completely debt free. Maybe pay off your any real estate low interest mortgages that you might have, or low interest debt that you might have. And after that, it might just be, hey, I want to leave a legacy now. Maybe I want to be able to give and be generous and do some really cool things.
Funny, I bet everybody gets you on these interviews and asks you about tactics. One of the things that it strikes me is that you weren't a numbers person, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden you decided to take responsibility and find out all of these things.
Yeah.
From a non-logical perspective, how do you think a FitPro can apply their own self-discipline? Because I find they're just the best crowd. They're
Yeah.
self-motivated. They do the thing usually. They're quite
Hmm.
internally driven. That's why we're leading sessions for other people. How could that be applied to this as money as a facet of life? Like, what was the switch that
Hmm.
you made mentally, would you say?
For me, it was honestly, it was when that happened with the car. It was just a real wake up call, and I realized, like, it's almost like I saw a picture of my future,
Mm.
and I didn't like what I saw, and it's scary where I was headed. And it was, in some ways, it was in an instant, but there was other things that were gradual. I just made that decision that I want something different. And I've always been disciplined in some areas. And I think everybody can relate to that. I think everybody has something that they see themselves as capable, they see themselves as perhaps disciplined, they see themselves with a positive identity. And when you peel it back, you realize that this is just another area. If like, Kate, what's an area you're good at? Like, it could be something totally unrelated to what we're talking about. Like, what's anything you're good at, or what would somebody who knew you say you were good at?
The ability to motivate myself to exercise, which I think is just something that's
Yeah.
inbuilt in all of us that are leading anything in
Yeah.
fitness,
Yeah.
right?
So that's a perfect example. So if you are somebody who has uh, you probably see yourself as somebody who's able to motivate themselves to exercise. Like, the reason you see yourself that way is because that's kind of how you are, and you've proven that, and you've done it over and over, and you've done it even though it's been hard. So all we really need to do is just look at this other area of finances and say, well, if I got to the point where I was able to become disciplined with my exercise, like, what did that always look like? Was I always that way? Like, the very first day, my very first workout, like, did I have that ability? No, of course not, because nothing just happens. Everything is developed. Everything is going to take some learning. Everything is uh, just a bit of an experiment, and you're figuring out what works and what doesn't, and you're gonna mess up, and you're gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna stop, and then you're gonna start again. I mean, that's most people, they can relate to that in an area, and they become successful because they continued with it. Well, I could ask you, Kate, like, how did you become successful in that area? And you might say, well, I started hanging around other people that were that way, or maybe I watched some videos, I read some books, maybe I just made the decision. I mean, it doesn't really matter like what those answers are, but the reality is that you did something, and now all we need to really do is just do those same things in this other area. What does it take to be financially successful? You have to work on your mindset. And if you're not willing to do that, it's going to be very difficult. If you want to become fit, if you want to lose 50 pounds, like there's no doubt you have to work on your mindset. Like that's just a different identity that you have to develop. Same thing with finances. You're gonna have to do what else you're gonna have to do. You have to do things that are a little uncomfortable. You can have to go to the gym and do some squats, and you might get a little sore. What do you have to do with your finances? You have to get a little comfortable. You have to look at a financial statement that you're not really sure what it means, but you're gonna have to kind of go through that period where you're a little uncomfortable. You might have to get some help. You might have to get a coach. You might have to read a book or listen to a podcast. So in a lot of ways, it's just the same thing in a different area. And I realized that I can do this, and anybody who's listening can do it as well.
Mm. They can. It certainly is just another facet, isn't it? I often say,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's uncomfortable, your clients, as a trainer, your clients probably don't want to talk to you about their digestion. They don't want to talk to you about their body. Just like you don't want to
Exactly.
talk to the accountant, the bookkeeper, or whoever about the money. I think making yourself accountable helps enormously as well. So let's, I know we could probably talk for another hour, but so that we don't, where can people contact you? What's your best website? How can they
Yeah.
get your
Yeah, I
help?
think that yeah, I think the best way is you can just find me on social media. It's Billy Hoffacker on social media like Instagram or Facebook and LinkedIn. And I also can share a link with a book that I wrote. It's called Fitness Profits, and it's a free
Sure.
download. And that book, I'll try to show it here for anybody who's watching. That book is it shares the journey that I went through to kind of get to the point that I was sharing before. So I will.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yes,
Yeah,
perfect. It
yeah.
was blocked out
So
by your name. Yep, perfect.
yep,
Thank
I'll
you.
share that. Yeah,
Amazing. I'll make
absolutely. And
sure all of those links are near this recording, wherever you're watching and listening to it. And I'll also make sure Billy's contact details are so you can get in touch with him, because regardless of the country that you're in, there's a lot of things that are exactly the same.
because a
Or just
lot of it is
different
behavior.
wording.
Yeah, a
Mm,
lot of it is behavior based. It's kind of like again, just to keep going back to it, it's kind of like getting in shape. Doesn't
mm,
really matter where you are or what you call a split squat. It's gonna still still gonna work.
exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Kate.